So hello everyone and welcome to Moon Moth. So this week we're going to keep on the same track and explore the locations of Rendlesham, their significance and why I think they're significant. And this resonates in particular with this area that I am exploring. It is interesting. So later, first of all, I'll show you the video which I've recorded at home. I'll insert that in here, and then we'll go to the gifting area and we'll have a look and see what's going on over there. Okay, welcome to part 2, where I'm going to discuss locations. So this is Rendlesham and the surrounding area. I hope you find this interesting. In this episode, I want to explore what is in and around the area of Rendlesham. Why would people from another planet visit this location? Why is it of significance? The possibilities may surprise you, may resonate with you. They certainly do with me. I think the surrounding area is key to the visitation. So this is the site of a USA Air Force base known as RAF Woodbridge. It's a World War II Air Force base, and an agreement made in 1941 by President Roosevelt was that the US would be able to use land as military bases for an indefinite period of time as part of Lend-Lease. And the Lend-Lease loans were for military hardware and all sorts of financial assistance that helped us through the Second World War, because the United Kingdom was on its knees. It was the only person standing when Europe had fallen, completely fallen. And Northern France, Holland, Belgium were all under the Nazi cosh, even Norway. So we were surrounded and we needed help and assistance. And who came to our assistance? Again, the United States of America. Thank you. So the Lend-Lease loans, they were for military hardware, and surprisingly enough, they weren't completely repaid back to the United States until 2006. That's how massive they were. They were huge. 65 years later. So the land was part payment, and NATO has the same sort of bases there as well, and it's all vital for security of this country, the security of the West. So I'll sort of show you a map. I'll put a map up here so you can see. Now everything in the purple there was all Eastern Bloc Russian, and this is in the Cold War period. So everything there, the Berlin Wall is still standing, so that means Eastern Germany, Poland, they're under the Russians, right down through the Czech Republic, the Slovak Republic, right through Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, they're all under Russian cosh. So what is, as you can see on there, the Yugoslavia, that was created after the First World War. It was Bosnia-Herzegovina, Croatia and Serbia and Montenegro. And now, after the First World War, they created this one big state called Yugoslavia. Well, it's obviously now reverted to pre-First World War. So anyway, that was all the area that was, if you like, classed as verboten lands, nowhere to go, the enemy, Russian controlled. So they needed to have, the West needed to have military bases throughout Europe, Germany in particular, throughout Europe and the United Kingdom, basically to see what was going on in Russia. It was the Cold War. So that's why RAF Woodbridge continued, and it was under American auspices. So, like I say, I'm going to be careful what I say regarding the alphabets. I will refer to anything that is monkeys, oranges, and dinosaurs. Acronym. I refer to that as MUD. So the Lend-Lease is how the US Air Force bases came to be in the UK, and there's many bases still in operation. So the location and the proximity to this activity, I'm going to discuss a lot of that in the last episode, but the place that is close by, 7 miles away from Rendlesham, is called Orford. Now if you look on the map here, and I'll show you where, here we go, where Rendlesham is, and then see where Orford is, 7 miles away. What's happening at Orford? So Orford, it's not, like I say, it's not too far, and it's where they, in the Second World War, just before the start of the Second World War, it's where they devised radar. Radar is an acronym, and it means radio detection and ranging. So it was a highly secret asset at the beginning of World War II. Now, as it happens, my father was an instructor in radar in 1937, and it was highly secret. Nobody knew anything about it. It had the capabilities that it had in its infancy were a game changer. It meant you can see when the enemy is coming. And it meant that you could track aerial objects that would be flying over the English Channel into British airspace. And it meant that the enemy or anything in the air cannot hide. You can see it. So whether you are of this planet or not of this planet, you can be seen. And if you are from another planet and you've been bobbing backwards and forwards for quite some time in your little spacecraft, you're going to be alarmed, because now there's no stealth. People would only be able to see you with their naked eye before, but now it's clear to see, it's on a radar. And so that might be effective against your defence if you were from, let's assume you were from another planet. So moving forward to the Cold War period, Orford was a location for Cobra Mist, and this was a code name for a British and American experimental over-the-horizon radar system. So this is one step ahead of where radar originally was, and this was based at Orford Ness. So Orford Ness is basically the coast. Anything with Ness on the end means it's on the beach. Orford is the village on the mainland, and this is really the beach. So you can look yourself now, you can go on Google Earth and you can see Orford Ness, and you can see all the things that I'm going to show you on there. It's now been bought by the National Trust. So it is open to the public, you can go and visit it. It's not a state secret, it's old hat. Really, by today's standards, it's proper old hat. But in its day, it was fantastic. So technically, this whole thing had a name. This over the horizon radar. So they called it a really slips off the tongue kind of name, AN/FPS-95. Easy to remember. Or for short, System 441A. The military know how to do it. They really do. So it's originally planned to be built and tested in Turkey, and the Turks said nope, nope, nope. And so they decided they would take over the old radar station at Orford Ness and expand that in the 1950s, in the Cold War period. So some of the most experimental and significant things that took place there in the 1930s, they were called ionospheric research station. What does an ionospheric research station? To somebody in the 1930s, it means nothing. So there were some experiments that were carried out by a Robert Watson Watt in 1935, and basically what they were trying to do was to create a ray of radiation, which they called a death ray. So now you have to think, is that where H.G. Wells and his War of the Worlds, is that where he got that idea from? Had somebody been whispering out of school about it? So this death ray was supposed to stop enemy aircraft of its day. So it was rejected. It was impractical. But he said there was potential to use radio waves, so as a detection system, and that's how they use them. So we're going to frequencies again. They've discovered that frequencies can be interrupted in the same way as energy works. Radar works in the same way. So this ionospheric research station was just a cover for the development of radar. The first ever radar masts were installed at Orford Ness in 1935, and they are still standing. And if you look at the Google sites, you can see them. I've got a photograph here, I'll show you, I'll pop that up here, of these masts. They're quite tall. They were 76 metres tall, huge. They used these during the Battle of Britain, and without them, the Battle of Britain would not have been won. We would all be speaking German. It changed the course of the Second World War. So the buildings, like I say, they're owned by the National Trust. It's a visitor centre. You can go and look at them. You can go and walk around. They explain it all to you, and you can see what was going on in the Cold War. So this research place was actually a failure. Significantly to me, and probably to you, its failure was because they got constant noise, constant interference, which rendered it unreliable and unproductive, but noise. So it's a bit like you get blocking. If you're doing radio signals, you can block, you can squelch them. It was a bit like that, and they were getting constant noise. So firstly, who was putting the noise out? Was it the Russians? Would it be them? Or is it people who want to protect their comings and goings from another planet? Who knows? No one's ever going to say. That's the official thing. We get constant noise, so the millions that they've invested in that is gone. So they never discovered what the origin of it was. So I thought that that was really significant, that this was near a location that had secret goings on in and around Rendlesham. And I wonder if that's why the visitations occurred at Rendlesham in the forest there. I wondered if it alarmed other peoples, different peoples, off-planet peoples. What on earth are they doing there? And the surrounding area contains a lot of hardware that might be considered a threat to stability and the equilibrium of peace, and either within Earth's boundaries or without. outside of Earth's boundaries. So part of the tests they did at Rendlesham, here you go, have been duplicated in the area where I do research in the forest. Very, very close. A stone's throw away, actually. Some of that forest borders onto military areas. Now, is that significant or is it not? Just throwing it out there. So I want to continue with the exploration of the Rendlesham story, and this is what I discussed in the first episode, connecting the dots. Let's just assume, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what? But let's just assume that off-planet energies exist. Let's assume that we are not the only ones in the whole of this universe that goes on for infinity. And that's just our galaxy. How many galaxies make up a universe? How many universes make up an omniverse? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it takes a lot to take in. I would like to say I believe there is stuff going on. I believe there are people who have witnessed things, military especially. So Congress had a conversation, a debate about the existence of otherworldly peoples, crafts or beings, and I would want to know why. Why declare now? And I wondered if the areas where the events of high strangeness have occurred are significant. So for people who do Bigfoot research, invariably, not all, but invariably, there are other areas of high strangeness, whether it's what people refer to as a lot of spirit activity, or otherworldly, as in off-planet activity, off-planet energies have been witnessed. They seem to go hand in hand, and I don't think they're related, but they seem to go hand in hand. And I don't think that off-planet energies, peoples, craft, are coming down to Rendlesham because Betty's made some lovely buns in the shop and they want to test Betty's buns. I don't believe that's the case at all. I think it's what's going on round about. I think the military base was of significance. So I would say in the UK, I'm going to say I would dismiss them coming for minerals out of the ground. Why would people come for minerals? We don't really have a lot of gold. There is gold. We don't have a lot of silver, but we do have quartz in abundance. And I know that quartz, it does have special capabilities, properties. I don't believe they'd travel this far for quartz. We also have granite, a lot of granite, a lot of the Scottish Highlands are granite, a lot of areas are granite, and granite contains natural radiation. So as a people's, the local population of Rendlesham, I don't believe they're special culture. I don't believe that they've got some startling thing that somebody from outer space wants to check them out. I don't think they're unique in any way. They're just same as everybody else. So let's talk about the off-planet craft. The one that was witnessed and drawn, I'll put that up again, by this Sergeant Jim Peniston. And we understand that the propulsion units for some of off-planet craft have a small nuclear reactor within them, and this being closely related to a synthetic, the propulsion, the energy they use, the fuel, if you like. The Americans and Russians produced a synthetic product, I think it was in 1985, which was highly radioactive metal, and they called it E115 or moscovium. And within that reactor, that was the fuel that they found. Very, very similar, not the same. E115 is unstable. It's just not the same. So there's something that they were lacking within that. So maybe there could be a connection to these areas. Is it something that perhaps they are located very close to a nuclear power station, a source of radiation? Well, I'm going to go back to the map of Rendlesham and Orford. I'm going to look at the top of the map. So this is 10 miles from Rendlesham. 10 miles. There's a nuclear power station, Sizewell B. In its original, right beside it, there's two units, there's Sizewell A and Sizewell B. And Sizewell A that was built in 1960 and completed and opened in 1967. It's now offline. It's now been closed down. Weird thing, but it's not actually going to be decommissioned until 2088. That's how long they think this stuff is going to be radioactive. My guess is it'll never stop being radioactive. But so they replaced that site with another one in 1987. They built in 1987, which is still supplying power for the local area, going into the national power grid. Interesting, isn't it? That within 15 kilometres, or miles, of Rendlesham is a nuclear power station. Where I do my research, funnily enough, is very close to a nuclear power station. Extremely close. How weird is that? So is there something in this? I think that the common thread here is that there is a proximity to military bases and things of secret nature going on. And where I do research is a military base where at one time in the Cold War, not now, but in the Cold War, there was secret things going on there. There was testing of stuff going on there. We all know about it now. I find that fascinating. So within a stone's throw again, in one direction, I've got a military base, like I say, that was secret. In another direction, I've got a nuclear power station. And not far from that, another few miles further on from that power station, we've got a highly secret First World War factory. First World War, they had secret goings on in this First World War. Stuff that they were making for 1914. That is fascinating. So is it to do with secret technologies? Seeing what has gone on? Have these crafts been visiting for over 100 years? For longer? Because they're an advanced technology. Certainly are. I don't know whether it's to do with the Cobra mist, because now these craft could be seen by this over the horizon radar. Was it to do with that project? Or is it a combination of all three? Or do these nuclear power stations leak like a sieve? And is it a means, if you are flying an alien spacecraft, do you just hover over the chimney and gather the rays of energy? I mean, is it something as crazy as that? And often the simplest answer is the right answer. Who knows? They were just ideas that I've been floating by. So that's where I'm going to leave it for this week. I hope it's of some interest to you, because I think there's a lot of connections. And those of you who do research with Janu peoples, there are many of you who have these similarities very close by, where there are secret stuff going on. Now, I'm not suggesting that Bigfoot is interested in all that, because I don't think they are. We have off-planet stuff from outer space. We have Bigfoot stuff, and they may come under different, we put them in that envelope and that envelope, or that box and that box. And I'm wondering if there is another box that they should all be in, and that's a connecting thing. So hopefully in the next episode, if you'll join me in the next episode, we will join the dots and explain what I think may or may not be happening. So thank you for staying with me, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope I haven't bored you too much. But there's so many different things. You'll have seen that I've slightly changed the start of my videos because of this. It's not just one subject. There's so many things that seem to overlap with this. So now we'll go back to the forest and we'll go and leave some gifts at the gifting tree. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you up in there. Okay, bye. Okay, it's a little bit warm today. It started off really cool and wet, and I'm dodging showers as we go. So I'm in the second gifting area today. So I hope you have enjoyed that video. And it was talking about locations and what is near to where these sightings are, to the town of Rendlesham. And much of that correlates with where I research around here. We have a nuclear power station not too far. We also have military bases not too far, one of which in its day was secret. Well, two actually, two of which in their day was secret. One which is still a base now, so I won't mention that because that's just stirring the pot. I think that the locations of where these viewings, like Rendlesham, are, I think they're very important, and I think that might be a reason why, just why they are where they are. So, without much further ado, we'll put down all the gifts we have. First of all, there's one bag here, I can see. And I see another carrier bag, plastic bag, baggy. I can see the red fruit net. What's this? And that is a foil wrapper of a sweet chocolate cookie thing, whatever it was. But there's nothing else. No other bags, so they must take the bags off. Just so you get an idea of what is going on around here. This is the area. See all this stuff on the ground? Sorry, I'm holding the phone high up above my head here. See? I mean, look at this stuff here. Alright, look at this. Look at all this stuff. Some very strange noises coming from up there. See? Square over there. I'm going to stick the apples on the tree here. There's one lot there. There's another lot of apples here. In fact, I'll just tie a knot round here. Here comes the rain, I think. There we go. It's like something has just thrown something at me. It landed somewhere in that direction over there. That's interesting. Are you throwing stuff at me? Huh? Maybe you want to come and get these. So first of all, some apricots. We'll put those down there. We have some walnuts. Put those there. And then some cashew nuts. I'll put those behind. Oh, two type of, I don't know, biscuit things, fibre and protein, all that healthy stuff. And pecans. I'll put those in front. Now we'll have some incense sticks. See if I can find some. I have to say this forest does look different today. There's lots of subtle, and I can't place my finger on it, subtle alterations. I'm going to have to look more closely. So we've got some incense sticks here. One there, one there, one there, one there, one there. We have apples on that tree and apples on that tree, and then in between pecans. What? That was odd. I have to remember to check back over the footage. It's like somebody said something over here. Alrighty, back to where I was. Pecans, fruit and fibre and protein biscuit things, chocolate bars, some walnuts, some apricots, and some cashew nuts. And I'll just point over here while I'm looking in the other direction. That's what we have this week. Well, I can't see anything over there. First of all, we had noises coming from this direction. And then whatever that sound was from over here. Okay, folks.